guys are tuned into S&M Radio. This is Shanon.
And I'm Mark.
And this episode, we are going to be talking about a movie that's not too old. It's not brand new by any stretch of the imagination. But I guess it depends on how you look at it. It's either the 2007 or the 2009 movie Paranormal Activity.
Where do you get the 2009?
It made its film festival debut in 2007, okay. But then it was actually released in September 25th of 2009, so almost 7 years ago. Yeah,
that's brand new. I mean, that's like it was just done yesterday for us.
well, I mean, we've been doing some new movies lately, but yeah,
that's true.
It is newer for our standards, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to find the appropriate term for this type of movie. I've come across a couple of them, and I'm not sure if this falls into quite the same category as the Blair Witch Project. This movie, The Paranormal Activity, is one of those movies that is a found footage type movie, but the way it's marketed and the way that the movie is portrayed is that you're supposed to believe that the events of the movie are real.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
And this movie actually had a couple of kind of cool things to it. When I watched it recently, I just watched it the other day. This movie, like a lot of these movies, at the very beginning of the movie, it gives you like this splash card at the movie that kind of says such and such happened, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a plot point of what is going to happen in the movie. For example, this one said something along the lines that Paramount Pictures would like to thank the families of Mika and Katie, the two people in the movie, and the San Diego Police Department. And then the other thing with this movie that isn't in all the movies that are like this, but at the end of this movie, there actually wasn't any credits, if you remember that. So it's really put up in a way that when you watch this movie, you know, you're like, wait, did it really happen or did it not happen? The people that were in this movie, they are playing like a version of themselves. So Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat are the characters in this movie, and those are the actors that play those characters. So there's like different versions of themselves. And if you like look at their IMDb page and stuff, they really weren't anything before this movie and stuff. So
yeah, that's interesting. I think, you know, to be honest with you, like horror movies that do that little trick, like the whole this is a real thing and, you know, this is based off true events or whatever, or they kind of suck you in like that. I actually like that. I think like my first introduction to that was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which kind of played off the idea that what you were about to watch is a real thing, loosely based off of, you know, the events of Ed Gein. So I think that kind of that type of storytelling is very, very effective, especially for like, you know, the people that the mainstream audience who, you know, they're not like horror fanatics like you and I are, so they don't go out and research this stuff to see if it's real or not. They just kind of accept what's put out there for them. I think that's a great way of luring people into a sense of, hey, what you're about to see, this is the real deal.
This movie and a lot of the ones that do this were kind of marketed in a way for that to happen. We're going to talk about the Blair Witch Project in a future episode, but the Blair Witch Project was one of the things with the Blair Witch Project back when that came out in the late 90s, that was kind of at the tail end boom of the internet, and the Blair Witch Project was really the first viral movie that came out, even though it was released in theaters. Paranormal Activity kind of did sort of the same thing. You know, there was a big media blitz online, but yeah, it was really portrayed as, I don't want to say it was necessarily a found footage movie. I mean, even though that's what it is, but I can't find a good term for that other than found footage. The Blair Witch Project has a term that's always associated with that is like the fictional legend or something along those lines, and that's not quite the same as what Paranormal Activity is. For those of you who have never seen Paranormal Activity, basically what it is, it's this young couple, Katie and Mika, who had recently moved in together. But the movie starts off with Mika basically he just bought this brand new video camera, and they're talking about they're going to record everything that happens in the house. And basically then you come to find out pretty quickly that there's some stuff going on in the house. So the entire movie happens in this house. And what the entire movie is, it's shot on basically a camcorder, really. And it's shot from the bedroom, it's shot from the living room, shot from the kitchen. There's a few exterior shots, but not too many. But it's basically this couple's day-to-day life in this house. And then as the movie goes on, you come to find out that the weird stuff that's happening in this house has actually been happening to Katie ever since she was a little kid. And they even bring in like the psychic guy to help out with it. He tries to tell them that, nope, you got to go talk to this other guy, and the other guy's not available. And this guy that they bring in kind of refuses to help them.
I actually like the idea. I thought the idea was really good. It kind of like you brought up the Blair Witch Project, and I think it's kind of the same sort of like a newer approach to film. And let's do it through the video camera. It's kind of like a found footage type concept, and where you make it as real as possible, almost like a home video. And I think that concept, that way of doing it is great. And I think that the film is incredibly effective, and it kind of pulls back and like when you think of like the horror movies that are the most effective, a lot of them imply more than they show. And this movie is one of those for sure, where it's just so much of the fear is implied.
Oh yeah, this movie I saw in the theaters when it first came out. I was in Iowa, I think, or maybe somewhere else. But I remember like seeing the hype and stuff. And at this point, I knew like oh, this is a movie. I was in my 30s, and I wasn't going to be fooled again. But I went to the movie theater, and this movie does a really good job with the suspense. So, like I said, the movie, it's all shot on this single shot handheld camera, basically. Part of the movie, what they do is they set up this camera on a tripod in their bedroom, and they're filming them while they are sleeping, and they do a time lapse over the night. And that's when stuff is basically happening to them, is at night. And it does a good job, with kind of the creepy stuff. And it's stuff that you can kind of imagine happening to yourself in your own bedroom at night. The door creaks open a little bit and creaks back, closed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
There's a puff of air through the room and wafts the sheets a little bit on the bed, stuff like that. And I remember when I first saw this movie back in 2009, I went and saw it with another guy that I work with, but we went back to our hotel afterwards, and I was staying by myself in the hotel room, and I remember ugh. And flipping the bathroom light on before I went to bed just to have a little bit of extra light in the bedroom, because it kind of creeped me out. But even the other day when I watched it again, it had the same effect to me. Even though I knew when stuff was going to happen, it was just that way, to where it was like, it was eerie in the right spots, and you're like, oh, I know something's going to jump out right here. Damn it jumped out and got me again, kind of thing. So this movie, it was one of these where I saw it when it first came out, and I think I saw it maybe one other time 5-6 years ago. When I watched it the other day, I was kind of like, I don't remember if I really enjoyed this or not. And then I got like 15 minutes into it and was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it was one of those movies I remember I thought was very effective, and it was, there was a lot of hype behind it. And I watched it at home. I never did see it in the theater, so I wish I would have seen it with paying audience. But I watched it at home and I watched it alone, and I remember thinking after I saw it, yeah, that's very effective. That was, and I did have that sense too. You had that sense like when you went to bed that night. I remember thinking, is something going to pull my sheets down? Is something going to grab my foot? You kind of have that weird feeling. And the funny thing about this movie is really, other than the one kind of scene that I'm not going to give away, but really not much. It's one of those movies where really nothing happens, so to speak, and it happens in such a way that it's sort of, you're just like kind of afraid because you see these things that don't make sense. So it's all this build up, and then like you're just kind of left with this sense of, wow, I didn't see anything, I don't know what's happening, and I think that's what makes it so creepy, because it's sort of like has a realism to it that yeah, I could be laying down in bed and hear these noises, or the door creeps open, or this could happen. And I would definitely say it's a very effective horror movie, and a nice, interesting genre. I actually would like to check out some of the sequels. I don't recall seeing any of them, to be honest with you.
I saw, I think, the first 2 sequels, because there's 6 altogether, and the last one's just from like last year.
Yeah, they really beat this thing down.
Yeah, they did. The one thing with these movies is, we kind of harp on like the Paranormal Activity movies and Saw and stuff, and we're like, enough with the sequels already. When we loved the sequels back in the 80s.
Oh, we loved them.
But
couldn't wait for the next Friday the 13th back then.
I think I saw part 2, part 3, and part 4, and then last 2 I don't think were necessarily sequels. I think they were kind of more like spin-offs.
Right.
I remember like part 2, part 3, and I think part 4 too, it was still kind of revolved around the Katie character that was in this movie.
Yeah.
Like one of them was like a prequel. I don't remember which one it was. To where it,
that's
like,
right. Yeah,
it went back to when like she was a kid, her and her sisters, back when they were like 8 or whatever.
That might have been the second one.
Yeah, I don't remember. But I do remember that they were kind of, they were okay, but it was, when you're using this style of filmmaking, the real low budget's not the right word. The first one, the original one, yeah, that one was super low budget, but the other ones, those were big studio produced movies. So, those aren't necessarily low budget, but the whole, like, the first one, yeah, great found footage, and it's filmed with a camcorder, perfect. But when you repeat that same process over and over again, it kind of loses something with those. But I remember too, it was kind of the same stuff, just recycled a little bit. Which again, I don't really want to rip on it too much, because I know that we love our sequels from the 80s, and
we do.
Those are
completely recycled.
Exactly. Every Friday the 13th movie is exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's just put a different girl in there, and that's about it. I think like it was an interesting franchise like that, and it's kind of interesting when we look back at like horror in the 2000s and like the franchises. We had the Saw franchise, we had the Paranormal Activity franchise. I think those were the 2 top ones, weren't they? That was like where the sequels were being pounded out like every year. I know Saw was, it was like every Halloween there was a new Saw movie.
Yeah, and it was like the same. Those were a little bit before these ones, because I think the Saw ones, while maybe some of the later Saw ones were overlapping with these, because Saw came out like in 2004 or 2005, I think. But yeah, there was like that. It was like 7 or 8 of Saw movies, and then the same with these. There was.
And it's funny because I think back to the horror movies, like I guess you and I being old geezers at this point, like the horror movies that really affect you, like if we were to talk to like our parents' generation or whatever, they'd probably be like, oh my gosh, it was like Frankenstein and the Wolfman and Dracula. That was like that was horror, and like so for us, it's like there really is no topping Halloween and Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street in terms of originality and characters and all that. So like, but the next generation, if you look at it, it's kind of like those movies, like it was Saw, Paranormal Activity, and that kind of, those were the Ring. Those were kind of the films that they were making, and they were like bringing out. And so I look back at that time, like the original Saw was an incredible movie. I mean, I was really blown away with that movie. And I'm not a big fan of modern horror, but that movie to me had all the originality, all the imagery, and all the twists and turns that I thought that was terrifying the first time I saw it. And I think of Paranormal Activity kind of fits along with that, where it's like, that was good. That was a real good horror movie. I wasn't a kid when I saw them, so I don't have like quite the same affection for them that I have with like Halloween and all that. It's really cool to think about those now, and it's been like, gosh, and the original one was 9 years ago, almost a decade ago. That's how old that is. So weird.
Yeah, I was going to say these movies actually, like the Paranormal Activity, Saw and stuff. Yeah, if you ask our high school age kids right now, I would be surprised if either one of them actually even seen this movie.
Yeah.
Because my daughter, she loves the 2009 Friday the 13th movie. But the only reason why she loves that is because the one dude that's in that movie is from the Supernatural TV show.
Right.
Other than that, the big horror movie of choice these days is the stupid Purge series.
Really?
Which is not a horror movie.
No, it's not, and it's not even.
I mean, it's not even a good home invasion movie. I mean, they're just dumb.
I saw the first one. Yeah, I didn't. I have no need to see any of the.
I saw half of the first one, I think.
Yeah, that's not really horror.
Yeah, but I mean, when those come out, like, oh, the new Purge movie's coming out. This is gonna be great. Let's go see it. No, I'm not gonna see it. I don't want to see that crap. But it's stuff like that, and like, I mean, this is a little bit different, but. The American Horror Story TV series, that's a big thing. Scream Queens, the TV series on Fox, is a big thing. So, and the American Horror Story, that TV show, that was good. Like the first couple of seasons of that show were really good. But then like the last season, they brought Lady Gaga in. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is stupid. Oh, yeah, so the other thing I was going to say about this movie, which this wasn't the first one to do this, Paranormal Activity was one of these movies that was independently made. Depending on where you look at, there's a couple of different estimates for the initial budget of the movie. The most common belief is that the initial budget of this movie was $10,000 to $15,000. Which isn't hard to believe at all, which I would say that's even a little high, because unless that camera they bought to film the thing on cost $9,750, you didn't have to really do anything.
Right.
Maybe rent this house for a week or 2 weeks, but supposedly made for roughly $10,000, $15,000. Paramount bought the rights to the movie for $350,000. And then it went on to make like $193 million in the box office.
And now that is why they kept making them, obviously.
And so this puts that up there as one of the most profitable movies of all time.
Wow.
Not highest grossing, but like profitable as far as return goes.
And they milked it. They certainly milked it.
And I think this one, too, like I said, we'll talk about Blair Witch Project in a future episode, but a lot of the marketing that was done for this one was done online. I mean, there was a TV ad campaign and stuff for sure, but advertising online is cheap, and you get people, right. And nowadays too, especially when this came out, this would have been Facebook was going crazy and other social media was going crazy, so you get people out there in social media land talking about your movie, and that's free advertising right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This
movie, I thought it was really well done. The only thing with this movie is there was a few times in the movie you could kind of tell the girl, Katie, that she was acting, because there was a couple of times you're like, didn't quite believe that.
A little cringeworthy, huh?
Other than that, yeah, I mean, overall, when I watched it again the other day, I was like, wow, this is actually a good movie.
Yeah, I would definitely go ahead and put this one as a thumbs up. I would recommend it.
Yeah, so would I, for sure. The only other thing, of course, that goes along with this being an independent movie getting bought by a big studio is that once the big studio got their hands on it, they changed the ending, of course, to make it more crowd-friendly, I guess, if you will.
More mainstream.
Yeah, because there was an original ending that when it first showed at the film festivals back in 2007 that was a little bit more drawn out at the end of the movie than what the initial the Paramount ending is, which is the one that we've all seen. And I've never done any digging to see if like the original ending is out there anywhere. Like probably if you buy it on Blu-ray, it's probably
I'm sure. I think it was on one of the versions that I rented. Like there were multiple endings.
Was there?
Yeah. I remember watching them. I don't recall. Yeah, because I did watch several different, I think like 2 or 3 endings, it seemed like. So yeah, thumbs up for this one for sure.